Hi everyone, Habari Gani to you. Today is the second day of Kwanzaa, and the principle that we are celebrating today is Kujichagulia, which means self-determination. And Kujichagulia means to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves instead of being defined, named, created for, and spoken for by others. And we light the red candle, which represents the past, which also represents being African by blood, the bloodshed, and also the struggle. And that is the candle that, or the Mishuma Sabu, or one of the Mishuma, that you will light on your Kinara. In today's video, we are going to be talking about people throughout history who have used the principle of Kujichagulia in order to speak out against injustices and also to help us move forward. I'm also going to be sharing with you a recent article that I saw today, which I feel actually fits into our topic for tonight, or the principle of the day. I will also be telling you how we can incorporate Kujichagulia into the community as well as our own personal lives. So before I get started, we are going to do our libation statement. In today's libation, I am going to be calling out maybe one or two names of those who have actively spoken out against injustice in the Black community, whether it was in the past in enslavement or even those recently today. So the first name that I want to say is Ida B. Wells Barnett, who is one of the people we will be talking about tonight. Shay. Carter G. Woodson. David Walker, who wrote David Walker's Appeal. Shay. Malcolm X, who was very vocal against injustice. Shay. Mamie Till Mobley. Shay. And for all of the Black writers, journalists, news reporters who decided to take a stand and speak out against things that they felt were not right, or to raise awareness of different causes related to people of African descent, remember them now. Ashe. This is our libation statement. So, the symbol for Kujichagulia is an Akon symbol, and it is the Akon throne. It means, I think it's pronounced Ahenwa. If I'm mispronouncing it, I do apologize. It's spelled A-H-E-N-W-A. It's a symbol of national identity, cultural groundedness, and rightful governance. Kujichagulia is one of my very favorite principles of Kwanzaa, one of my favorite principles of the Nguzo Saba, mostly because I feel that I can have some type of power over it. You can use most of the principles collectively, which you're supposed to, but you can also use them individually. And I feel that Kujichagulia is one of the best principles that you can use individually because it is self-determination. You're not relying on anybody else to make up your mind for you, because it is to define ourselves, to name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. When you have the spirit of Kujichagulia in you, there is no room for you to feel disempowered. And I believe that if we had more Kujichagulia in the community, on a collective scale, on a mass or wider scale, a lot of the issues that we are seeing would diminish or basically be eradicated. One of the most important aspects I've seen of Kujichagulia in Black history are people who were journalists, people who were out starting movements. They didn't just sit around like other people, just taking what was given to them. They decided that they were going to go in the opposite direction and truly try to make a change. So one example of a person who did that is Ida B. Wells Barnett. And if you're interested in getting this book, I got it online. It is called Southern Horrors and Other Writings, The Anti-Lynching Campaign of Ida B. Wells Barnett, 1892 to 1900. And I did a video of this for her birthday earlier this year. She was born in July. Ida B. Wells, I feel, is an excellent example of Kujichagulia because even before she started her anti-lynching campaign, she was already determined that she was going to be successful. Both of her parents and I think one of her siblings died due to, I want to say, yellow fever. And even though she was a teenager, she basically took full control of her family. She took care of her siblings, even when they had special needs. She went early on, started a career as a teacher, and every move that she made in her life was a step towards progress. She was also very vocal about lynching and did deep, in-depth research on the causes of lynching, the stories of famous lynchings. She traveled a lot, and a lot of people were threatened by her presence. She also advocated for women's rights as well. So even though she was a Black woman who, faced discrimination being Black and also being a woman, she really didn't care. She wanted to get the job done. She didn't care if people were threatening her life. This did not stop her from doing her work. That's why I admire her. A lot of people in these type of positions would fold. I wouldn't blame them, but if you're trying to be somebody that you say is a very powerful leader, there's some sacrifices that you have to make. I mentioned this in my lecture about umoja, which is unity. Sometimes you're going to have to let people go in order to move forward with your goals. If she had listened to all of these fearful people in her life, she wouldn't have been able to accomplish all of the things that she did within her life. And her anti-lynching campaign also made a subtle impact on lynching. Like, there was a reduction in lynching, and it also raised awareness and helped pass certain laws in relation to lynching. Another book that I think is very good when it comes to Kujichagulia is this book called Say It Loud. I've had this for, I don't know how long, maybe 10 years. It comes with a CD. It's called Say It Loud, Great Speeches on Civil Rights and African American Identity. So if you're one who loves to listen to speeches and basically hear the voices of the people you admire, I would recommend this book. I selected this book as an example of Kujichagulia because it is people stating their truths in their own way. You may not agree with everything that they say, but they were brave enough to express their opinion, whether it was popular or not at the time. And they made oral history, I guess. Great speechwriters and different things. On the front is Malcolm X. He had very powerful speeches that will motivate you and motivated people in the past as well. The whole thing that I see that is important about Kujichagulia is telling our story from our perspective. When you have somebody else telling your story for you, it usually doesn't end very well. They can take whatever they want and paint it in whichever way they want. So, for example, what was that movie? I literally cannot remember. It was, I don't remember this movie, but you probably know what I'm talking about. So in the past, there was a silent film, and it was mostly promoted by the Klan, and it was talking about Black men raping white women, and that is why they should be lynched. And as a result of this film, the increase in lynchings happened. Also, Klan membership increased because the Klan would be sitting outside of the theaters trying to sign people up for joining their organization. This is one instance of where somebody else telling your story, molding it into whatever way they want to mold it, can be damaging to you. Another example, I was a teenager and I read a book about Phyllis Wheatley. It was a children's book. And I'm always very leery about books written about certain groups by people who are not in that group. So this one was about Phyllis Wheatley. It was not written by a Black author. It was written by an elderly white author. And the problem that I had with her novel is she put so much emphasis on Phyllis Wheatley's low self-esteem. She also had her falling in love with Nathaniel Wheatley, who was one of the twins. When she created this love story, even though Phyllis Wheatley married a Black man, what was his name, John Peters? Peters? I can't remember. But she married a Black man and had 3 children with this man, even though all the children died in death. So when I was a teenager, I wrote this lady, and I'm just like, why did you write this like that? I don't know why you wrote it like this. And she responded to me and said, maybe you should put the venom that you have in you into whatever antagonist that you write. Okay, first of all, I don't have venom. I'm just like, why are you outright lying about history? Why are you doing that? And because of this, now you have young people thinking of this beautiful love story that most likely never happened with Phyllis Wheatley, because Phyllis Wheatley was about 6, 7, 8 when she came through the Middle Passage to the United States or to America or North America. And the Wheatley twins, they were about maybe 17. So by the time she got older, they're probably out of the house and having have their own relationships. Why would she fall in love with somebody that looks like the people that took her in the first place? And she ends up marrying a Black man. There's no evidence of her falling in love with anybody. But because we allowed somebody else to take our story and nobody protested against it, here it is still in print right now. Another example, my last example, Emmett Till. Emmett Till's lynching. Emmett Till's mother, Mamie Bradley, or Till Mobley, depending on whichever last name you use for her, she had to do so much to just get accurate facts about the lynching of her son. The papers were saying that the NAACP planted a body, even though there was no evidence of the NAACP planting a body. The newspapers or rumors also said that Emmett Till was castrated, and she said in her book that he was not, because she checked herself, that there were still rumors going around that this had happened. She had to go through this whole media frenzy in order to get the truth of her son's story out. So when you think about Kujichagulia, think about how important it is defining yourself, naming yourself, creating for yourself, and speaking for yourself is. Because if you aren't defining yourself, naming yourself, creating for yourself, and speaking for yourself, somebody else is going to do it for you. And it might not be in the way that you like. Which goes into my little rant for... Hi everyone. So I'm back. My computer literally cut off when I was trying to find this article. So what I want to read to you is this article that I so strangely, with a twist of irony, found before I started filming this video. And it is on msn.com. I'm going to read to you parts of this article because I feel it is a perfect example of what can happen if you don't have any type of Kujichagulia and allow outsiders to define you and define what you stand for. So this is the title of the article, Business Insider. Representative Marjorie TaylorGreen denounced Kwanzaa as a fake religion created by a psychopath. And it was posted about an hour ago. It says, Representative Marjorie TaylorGreen called Kwanzaa a fake religion created by a psychopath. She made the remark in response to a statement by the College Republican National Committee. The annual week-long celebration of African history and culture was introduced in 1966. And so this lady got mad because she made a remark in response to a statement by the College Republican National Committee, a national organization of conservative college students. And this is what the committee wrote. All they wrote was, wishing you a happy and prosperous Kwanzaa. This was on Sunday. Then this is her response to them. Stop. It's a fake religion created by a psychopath. You aren't bringing in new voters. You are turning them away. People are tired of pandering and BS. Okay. So you ain't gonna say nothing about Columbus Day, but all right. You ain't gonna say nothing about Columbus Day, all right. All right, you're not gonna say nothing about Thanksgiving, but oh yeah, okay. Let's say something about Kwanzaa. All right, lady. I can't even believe this lady even got a platform to say anything. But let's just, break down her words. So it says, Green's tweet seemed to reference Karenga, who was convicted of felony assault in connection with a 1970 attack on two female members of the US organization, a black nationalist group in Los Angeles. While Green condemned Kwanzaa, her GOP counterparts have previously offered holiday greetings to those who celebrate it. So, let's break down this tweet and see how I can incorporate Kujichagulia into it. So, her response says, stop. It's a fake religion created by a psychopath. Fake religion. This is what happens when you just let people on a large platform just define anything that you have made. Kwanzaa is not a religion. It is not a religion. It is a celebration of African heritage for Black people all over the world in the diaspora. There is no religious anything. You can be a Black person with any type of religion and celebrate Kwanzaa. It's not like a Jewish holiday. It's not like a Catholic holiday. It's not like a Buddhist holiday, or it's not like a Hindu holiday. It is not a religion. No, some people don't consider Buddhism a religion, so I apologize for that. But it is not a religious holiday. So that's one thing that you got wrong. That is one thing that you defined wrong. Just the first half of that little tweet, just the first half of that part really shows you that when you see somebody trying to revamp or reinterpret something that you have made, you need to cut that off early. Let's cut it off, nip it in the bud. Because if they take 1 cent, they'll take $10,000. The next part that she said, created by a psychopath. Now that one, I'm not really gonna, I don't know much about Milano Karenga. I do know about reading about the assaults. I do know that the late Dr. John Henrik Clark was not a fan of him. He blasted him in a speech, and I believe the whole assault thing was brought up in one of his speeches as well. So that part don't have nothing to say, but it goes back to you have to get yesterday's speech. You have to get rid of people who are a danger to the community. You have to get rid of people sometimes that you admire so deeply, even if they made something that you really, really liked. You still have people caping for child predators and stuff. You still have people just sugarcoating the errors of past leaders because they're trying to save face on a global scale. Are we going to define ourselves as somebody who's going to be pandering and coddling instead of correcting? Think about it. Have we determined for ourselves that we are going to be perpetual coddlers? Have we determined for ourselves that we are just going to let anybody and their mama just come in and just take everything that we've made and make it whatever they think it should stand for? Taking hairstyles, renaming them, taking all these things, being like, I made this up. No, I don't think so. That's why it is important to tell our story. That is why it is important to have literature for Black children written by Black authors. Or if it's not written by a Black author, have it actually be historically accurate or something. Because history is history. You can't change it unless you have a time machine. But until then, you can't change history. You can have certain viewpoints of history, but that doesn't change exactly what happened. We also have to be more open to accept different perspectives of Kujichagulia for our community. Like, you might have one group being like, this is our Kujichagulia. We are this. We are all just, I don't know. I can't even think of one. I'll throw out one. We are all just Israelites. We're Israelites. And that's how they define us all. But then you have another group that's like, no, we are this. We are that. If we can find some type of definition that we all agree on, that doesn't incorporate some type of religion, that doesn't incorporate some type of class system in it, that just has some overall unifying, what do you call it, just moderate term that could represent all morality, and that can be how we define ourselves as. But throughout time, we've transformed. We're defining ourselves as certain things. Some of us define ourselves as Hebrews. In the past, some of us defined ourselves as Negroes or coloreds or whatever. Now is a new age. How are we going to define ourselves? Because whatever our name or however we present ourselves to society, that is how the world is going to treat us. If the world sees us as acting in a weak and cowardly way, you make yourself a target for global bullying. That's why some people, they just won't agree. They're like, oh, Kiara, why are you trying to say we need all these programs for children to learn how to hunt in the woods? The skinhead children are hunting in the woods. They know how to put together weapons and stuff. They know how to build a house from scratch. Why can't our children do it? When you have some type of offense or defense system, when you have some type of protective system, you become less of a victim to the world. When you're out in the society, whoever is your enemy, whether the enemy is in your camp or outside of your camp, they're always looking for some type of weak spot. And our weak spot is disorganization. That's one weak spot. So if we unify and collectively decide that we're going to stop being bullied on a global scale, and we're going to stop coddling and stop repeating mistakes or repeating different actions that do not work, and stop trying to hide from the truth, then we will truly be able to define ourselves in this society. So yeah, that's all I have to say for right now. I am so ready for the end of Kwanzaa because it has put a lot on my mind. I want to see how I can incorporate the Nguzo Saba into my 2022. And I feel like it's going to be quite a challenge, but it's a challenge that I want to take. So talk to you later, everyone, and have a happy Kwanzaa. See you tomorrow for the celebration of Ujima, collective work and responsibility.